Good Tuesday morning, everyone. It's 11:30 Mountain Time here in Colorado. It's Tuesday morning, and I am live for Ask the GAPS Chef. That would be me, Monica Corrado. I am a certified GAPS practitioner. I am a teaching chef. I am a holistic nutritionist, and I am the GAPS Chef. So I'm here to talk with you about GAPS. We're going to talk about this book. We can talk about this book. We can certainly talk about either of these books. And we always have this resource to talk about how to cook for the GAPS diet. Okay, so my website is simplybeingwell.com. simplybeingwell.com. I'm very excited to announce that I am going to be offering a culturing dairy class, a live Zoom class, starting on June 1st. That is a Wednesday. We're going to do Wednesday mornings. We'll do 4 of them, and I might do 5, but right now it's 4. Where I will take each class and go very, very, very deeply into culturing dairy for the GAPS diet. I like to call it culturing dairy GAPS style because it's not just traditional culturing dairy, just like making stock is not the same as traditional stock making because we make meat stock. So June 1, we'll start with a culturing dairy class, and I'll take your questions live, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I will put that up today, able for you to be able to register today. There will be a discount for our group because that's the kind of gal I am. Okay, here we go. Hello, saying hello to everyone. Veronica, hello, Veronica, hello, Leonie, hello, Mara. Hello, Dominique. Hello. Nice to see you. Hello, Jody. Excellent. Hello, Jody is here. Niska. Hello, Niska. Hello, Alejandra. So glad to have you. I'm glad you're excited for my Facebook Live. Happy to have you with us. Okay, hello, Dawn. Yay, Maryland is finally warm. Hooray. Hello, Fatsy, Allie. Hello, Carol Carpinelli from Michigan. Hello, Carol Slinden. Hello, Ewelina. I think that's right. Maybe it's Eulina. Hope I got that right. Anyway, good to have you. Hello from Wyoming, Anish. Hello. Okay, here we are. Uma is here too. Excellent. I love it. Adriana has made it. Hello, Adriana. All right. Welcome to everyone that's here, everyone that says hello, everyone that hasn't said hello anyway. Here we are, and we're going to talk about wonderful things, I hope. Hello, Roseanne. Yes, good to see you. Good to see you from Aurora, just down the road a piece. Okay, so again, I will be opening registration for my Culturing Dairy GAPS style class. It'll start June 1. It'll go through June, and then we'll go from there. Really excited to be teaching live again with all of you, anyone who would like to attend. So watch for the registration on my page, on this group, and on my website. So this morning, I would like to talk about lists. Hello, Joanna. I would like to talk about lists. I have so many people that are constantly putting up things. I see it on our page, Ask the GAPS Chef. I see it in my inbox. I see it on my certified GAPS practitioner training, my certified GAPS coach training. I see it everywhere. I see it on other pages that I'm on Facebook, etc. And everyone wants to know, where is the list? Where's the list of what I can eat and the list of what I cannot eat? So I'm here to shed a little light on this so that you can then understand, and then it can be easier for you. And then you can go out into the world and spread the news that you know, the information that you know about lists and not lists, etc. Okay, so I want to start with this book, which is Dr. Natasha's book. You can see it's falling apart. I've read it. You've seen this before, right? Like, how much have I read this thing? I don't know, a lot. As should you. I don't really should on people often, but please do. That's should, S-H-O-U-L-D. But please do read the book, because really asking, if you read the book, so many questions that you have will just be answered. And I really encourage people to read the book over and over and over again, as all of the GAPS practitioners do, and I do, etc. All right, so let's start with this book. So, in fact, we could start even before this book, because this is the book with the red thing that says revised. And Dr. Natasha wrote this book once before, a version, which was almost half the size of this. Some of you may have it. It's really best to work with the revised one, though, because it has more material than the original did. All right, so here we are. We're looking at Gut and Psychology Syndrome, Yellow Book, Revised and Expanded Edition. All right, in this book, you will find something. It's called a list. So I love, did you like that eyebrow thing? I'm going, a list. Never mind. I'm kind of punchy today. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm just tired. In any case, a list. That's true. Dawn says the book answers questions we don't even know we have. Absolutely. Absolutamente. Yes, I totally agree with you. That's a word I made up. It doesn't really exist. All right. Yes. So here we go. I'm looking in the yellow book. I'm just going through. Okay. So here we have the list. There's actually 2 lists in here. And then I'm going to talk about how to use it and how not to use it. So on page 159 in the yellow book, we have this list that starts. Says recommended foods. Okay. And it goes on for one, that's like a little tiny bit, and then a whole page, a second page, a third page, a fourth page, and then 4 pages of foods recommended, and then there's the next list. Foods to avoid. All right. So let's talk about these lists. Number 1. In my understanding and my use of this book and teaching this book and working people through the diet, working with people and trying to guide them through the diet, those lists, let's just talk about recommended foods. That recommended food list is really a full GAPS diet list. Okay? That is a full GAPS diet list, recommended foods. All right. So what does that mean? That means that if you're on the intro diet, you may never eat some of those foods. All right, so just put that in your mind. The list of recommended foods in the yellow book is really for the full GAPS diet. Either once you've graduated there from going through the intro diet. All right, I just want to give you that understanding, okay? So recommended foods that are in the yellow book is really about the full GAPS diet. Will you use some of those foods on intro? Yes. But you won't use all of them on intro, probably. Okay? So, and we all know, I hope you all know that there's this fabulous, well-used, well-used chart that you're all using, I hope, that is free for you up in the featured posts, right, for all of you to download. That tells you about the intro diet. Okay, so one more time, wrapping up this point. When the yellow book or the blue book says recommended foods, you may not get to those foods on intro. Those foods, that is a huge list. It's a full GAPS diet list. Okay. So I'm going to talk a lot about this, then we'll go into the foods to avoid list in a minute. But people will ask me, why isn't this vegetable on the list? Why isn't this fruit on the list? This is the recommended food list, yeah? Why isn't it on the list? Here's why. The list will never be exhaustive. The list that was printed in the yellow book will never be exhausted. It was printed on 2010, so 12 years ago. Yeah? That list will never be exhaustive. Why? Because GAPS is international. GAPS is worldwide. GAPS is it's global. Sadly, people are sick everywhere. Yeah? So, worldwide, global, etc. So if you live in Indonesia, or if you live in South Africa, or if you live in China, or if you live in Alaska, or Greenland, or Australia, or anywhere else, or maybe you live in the Middle East, maybe you live in Israel, maybe you live in Poland, we don't know, wherever you live, there are going to be indigenous varieties of fruits and vegetables that Dr. Natasha has no idea about. She doesn't know they exist. How could she? She lives in the UK and she's from Russia. She's Russian born. So I know that it can be really frustrating to many people that the list is not exhaustive, that not everything's on the list. That's okay, because this little conversation we're having now, I'm going to give my best effort to help you understand how to look at vegetables and fruits, right? And then I'll talk about dairy if we have time, and how to look at cheese, etc. How to look at vegetables and fruits in a way that you can always know if it's GAPS compliant or not, or if it's allowed or not, or if it's recommended or not, and why. Okay, so let's go there. All right, so here's where we go. So again, if you live anywhere around the globe, right, and you have maybe you have different squashes, maybe you have different greens. I'm working with someone in Hong Kong. They have all sorts of greens that I've never heard of. And so we sit and we talk about how this client can know whether or not a green that's at the market or at the farmer's market, or that you're growing in your garden, or that your neighbor gives to you, right? Or that you find at the grocery. How do you know if it's okay on GAPS? So this list is a place to start, but it's never going to be exhaustive about what is recommended, what is quote unquote recommended, approved, compliant, okay on the GAPS diet. Okay, so I just want to make that point. And the reason for that is because it can't be. Because there are so many beautiful, incredible, amazing plants all over the planet that are giving us fruits. They're giving us vegetables. They're giving us squashes. They're giving us, all sorts of things that we just don't know about. Okay. And as GAPS continues to grow, we have training programs in Turkey. We have training programs in Australia. We have practitioners taking the training from all over the world, and they are bringing to us, hey, what do we do? Is this squash okay? Is this green okay? Is this whatever it is, fruit okay? And so my job is to try and help you understand how to make those calls. Is it okay? Is it not? So let's go there. All right. So how do you know if a vegetable is okay on the GAPS diet? How do you know? How do we know? We know because there's one really big criteria that never goes away. Whether you're on full or you're on intro, there's one criterion, that's the singular, right? There's one thing that never goes away, and that is starch. Meaning, whether you're on intro or you're on full, you are not going to eat a starchy vegetable. And Dr. Natasha gives us both examples of that, and she tells us why. And so a starchy vegetable is something like a potato. Did you know there's over 100, is it over 600 potatoes in Peru when I went? Lots of potatoes. So potato is the classic example, if you will, of a starchy vegetable. Potatoes will never be on GAPS, whether you're on intro or full. Sweet potato, same thing, starchy, will never be on GAPS. whether on intro or full. Nada, not, okay? Those are your two biggest starchy vegetables. And then Dr. Natasha goes through other lists, other types of vegetables. So if it's a tuber, it's not, probably not on the GAPS diet because a tuber is starchy. So cassava, root, starch, no good, okay? So if it's starch, if it either says starch in it, yeah, or it is a tuber or a starchy vegetable, it is not on the GAPS diet. It's not on intro, it's not on full, it's never nowhere until you start transitioning off. And then there's a very specific list of how you transition off. So you can just write that on your refrigerator or on your wall. Oh, wow, I turned very bright. Or somewhere in your little GAPS notebook that says no starchy vegetables ever. Why? Because starch feeds pathogens and opportunists. No starchy vegetables. Okay? So you go into your market, whether it's, it's a farmer's market, you're going to the farm, you're going wherever you're going. If there's a starchy vegetable there and you're going, would this be good for GAPS? The answer will be no. Okay? We know that starch feeds pathogens and starch feeds opportunists. Starch feeds yeast. Everybody run around going, oh my God, I have a yeast. I've got too much yeast. Don't feed them starch. Okay. That's the number one criterion, which will never, 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 never move. It'll never. So starchy equals no. Don't do it. If you have a question like, well, I don't know if this is starchy. Well, if you're like, I don't know, just don't. Okay? All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is fiber. Fiber. Now, fiber is a little bit more tricky, and here's why. Fiber. Remember that fiber equals cellulose. And your body as a human does not make cellulase. Popcorn is gravel for the gut. Jody. Popcorn is corn, and corn is not on the diet. Okay? Corn is starch. Corn's also a grain, depending how you make it. And when you pop it, it's gravel, and it can cause injury. So there is no popcorn on GAPS. Okay, or corn on GAPS for that matter. Okay. All right, so let's go to fiber. Let's talk about fiber. What is fiber? Fiber is cellulose. Cellulose needs to be broken down by cellulase. Humans do not make cellulase. Therefore, how do we break down fiber? We break down fiber with teeth. That's mechanical. That's pretty much it. We break down fiber with teeth. Or we peel it off if we can, or we take out the seeds. Let me not get ahead of myself. Let's go back to fiber. There are certain vegetables which are not on GAPS. Never, nada, not going to be there. One of them is parsnips. Why? Fiber. They're a highly fibrous, stringy, fibrous vegetable. So they're not on the GAPS diet. They're not on full. They're not on intro. They're just not. When you see a very fibrous vegetable, something that's very stringy, something that's very rough, it's not going to be on the GAPS diet. Okay? So just put that there. There is on the list, and I'll go through it, there are vegetables which are too high in fiber, which we will never include. Okay, got that so far? All right, let me keep talking about fiber. The next piece about fiber is this. When you begin the intro diet, remembering that people who are prone to constipation should not begin with the intro diet. They should begin on the full GAPS diet. Really important to get that, folks, okay? So if you're not prone to constipation and or you're prone to diarrhea, you start on intro. And what do we do on intro stage 1? We get rid of all the fiber that we can by peeling and seeding vegetables. So things like zucchini, right? Little baby zucchini or huge zucchini. They have skin that you take off and seeds that you take out. You wouldn't really say that a zucchini is that fibrous. Looking at it, when it gets cooked, it's nice and mushy. You know, there aren't a bunch of strings everywhere, right? Like a parsnip would have. But intro stage 1, we're going to peel and seed all vegetables because we're getting rid of the fiber. All right. So that's a stage 1 thing. You move to stage 2, you don't have to peel and seed anymore. We will peel and seed vegetables when diarrhea is a problem and in stage 1 of the intro diet. Okay, so hopefully, so now people will say, what about celery? Celery is one of the most fibrous vegetables on the planet. Why? Because celery is full of fiber. It's full of strings. My beloved mom, love you, Mom, would take a vegetable peeler and peel the strings off the back before she'd ever use celery. So celery is on the okay list. It's on the recommended foods list. But guess what? You're not going to be eating any celery in stage 1 of intro. That's one of those foods I was explaining, that some of the foods on recommended list you're just not going to touch in the intro diet. You're certainly not going to touch it raw. And, right, there's just no celery on intro. Because why? Because it's highly fibrous. Can you juice it? Yes. Why? Juicing takes the fiber out. Can you cook it later on when the diarrhea is clear, when you're hanging out later stages of intro? Yeah, you can, as long as you cook it, take all the, peel that fiber off. Yeah, cook it really well, mush it all up. So that's an example of one of those vegetables that you're like, huh? All right, so one more time with feeling, no starch on intro or full or anywhere, meaning no starchy vegetables, no potatoes, no sweet potatoes. Those are the biggest ones. She also has no cassava, no Jerusalem artichoke. And so I'm just going to jump over here to our fabulous little list, the list that will never be complete because the world, the earth keeps giving us more and more beautiful vegetables and fruits that will never make the list, because the list was published in 2010 and it's now 2022. All right, so let's just go ahead and look right here. So now I'm jumping onto foods to avoid for just a second. And what you'll find on the foods to avoid list are foods that are full of starch, for one, right? Why do we not have things like arrowroot? Because arrowroot is a starch. Why do we not have things like, looking. Yeah. Just seeing what else she's got on here. That could be, why do we not have carrageenan? Why do we not have cellulose gum fiber? Why do we not have, right? These are all foods to avoid for sure. Yeah? Corn starch. Cream of tartar. All right, so you're getting the idea. There's lots of things here. So let me just go ahead. I think I've gone through the recommended foods list for the most part. Let's go to the foods to avoid. So what foods would be foods to avoid always? Starch. Did I say starch? Starch. No starch. So that means all those crazy foods out there that have like tapioca starch. Yay! No. Arrowroot. Yay! No, right? Cassava root. No. These are things that feed pathogens. They're getting very, I'm bringing these things up because they're all over the GF, gluten-free and paleo prepared / processed foods these days. All those baked goods they're saying are really good for you. They're really CRAP. Pardon my language. They're really not good for you. All right. So one more time with feeling. Where did Dr. Natasha come up with these lists? Crazy. she came up with them for very good reason. From her perspective in the UK, she's writing down, what things should you avoid? Starchy vegetables, any kind of starch, anything that says starch on it, no starch, right? Because starch feeds pathogens and opportunists. That's always going to sit if you have on that no-go, do not eat list, all right? And then also, if it's a vegetable and it's starchy, no way, Jose. And also fiber, you need to look at fiber. There are some that are fibrous vegetables. I should get that for you. Then I'm going to take questions. Give me 1 second. La, la, la. Let's look at the foods to avoid. Yeah, why is tapioca on there? Starch. Avoid tapioca. Looking. I'm trying to see if parsnips, poor little parsnips, they're so fibrous, they'll never be on gaps, not full, not anything, not intro, not full, etc. They're on there because they're highly fibrous. I'm trying to see if there's any other fibrous ones that she puts on there. Jerusalem artichoke, otherwise known as sunchokes. Do not eat them. They are highly fibrous. All right. Trying to see if she has any more that I could just pull out of here really fast and tell you why it's there. La, 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 la. And then, at some point we can talk about why different beans are on, blah, 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 and other ones are not, etc. That's pretty much the only ones, that I can tell from here right now. And there's one other thing I just really want to go, as far as the starch thing goes. I know that many of you are looking at taking probiotics. So we know that probiotic foods are far more potent than any probiotic you're going to take. There'll be a better variety of bacteria and yeast and good microbes, and there'll be a higher potency. So we really suggest that you do that with food and not probiotics, unless, I've taught this before, unless you have such high histamine response to fermented foods that you need to take a probiotic. All right, so if you're one of those people that needs to take a probiotic, please do not take one that says FOS on the label. That is FOS. It is fructo-oligosaccharides. Starch. Check your labels. All right, I hope that was helpful. I can do cheese today, I can do it later, but how to figure out what cheese, because again, the cheese list is not complete, so you need to figure out and know how to determine whether a cheese that you're looking at would be GAPS compliant, GAPS approved, or okay on the GAPS diet. All right, I hope that was helpful. Somebody give me a high five or something. Hello, Amina. She is with us. Hello, Shannon. Hello, Annika is here. Hello, Lucia. Hello, Caroline. Hello. Yay. Okay, people got it. Hooray. All right. Hey, Elaine, my friend Elaine from good old Virginia. Hello, Elaine. Mwah. Hope you're well. Hello, Dominique is here. Nor is here, or Nore. Lena is here. Hello, Lena. Thanks for the heart there, Elaine. Hello, Tara. Hello. Who else we got? Zam is here. Kaylin is here. Miriam. Hello, Miriam. All right. She says, please talk about the cheese. All right. Love you too, Elaine. Love to see you soon. I'll have to come back home again soon. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see what we got. Let's see. Questions coming in. Looking. Who's got the first one? Dominique asks, what about carrots? Carrots are a very big part of the GAPS diet, and Dr. Natasha goes into carrots and why. Carrots are very cleansing. Carrots are not high starch vegetable. Do they have sugar in them? Yes, but they're not qualified as a starchy vegetable. Excellent. All right. Let's see what's next. Lena says, I eat a ton of raw celery. Yeah, I would say that would be a ton of too much stringy fiber. Up to you, Lena. I mean, I don't know. Are you on GAPS? Why are you on GAPS? What symptoms are you trying to heal? I certainly would never be eating raw celery. I mean, certainly we know raw doesn't come in until stage 4, right? I mean, stage 5, sorry. Juice comes in stage 4. Raw, there's your lettuce, gives you a clue. So raw anything comes in on stage 5, and it comes in slowly. A little piece of lettuce, a little piece of peeled and seeded cucumber, a little piece of carrot, raw, a little piece of tomato. Celery doesn't even make it on intro because it's too fibrous. So if you're on full gaps and you're healed and sealed and you are you're not experiencing any diarrhea, you probably could keep up with your celery. But still, I would take those outside strings off, man. They are really, and I'll bet you, Lena, check the toilet bowl and let me know if those fabulous strings are still in your stool, because I bet they are. All right. Tara says, I was just wondering about celery too. It is on the recommended list, but it's definitely stringy. Yeah, so that's when you have to use your GAPS. What should we call it? It's like your GAPS magnifying glass, like your GAPS detective. You put your little Sherlock Holmes hat on and you get your little detective thing out and you go, celery's on the recommended list. Where am I? Where am I on the diet? Am I on intro? Or where is my child on the diet? What are my symptoms, right? Use your detective skills to go, celery is on the recommended list. However, it's high in fiber. When would it be appropriate? Yes, you can have celery in full gaps. If you graduated to full gaps from intro, you're healed and sealed, and you're eating all that great food on full gaps. Great. However, if you come to full gaps and you start there, I wouldn't start having celery in my diet because you still have things to heal. That's how I would look at it. That's how I would look at it. Okay. Noor Asma and Nadia, at which stage of intro can fresh coconut water be taken? Fresh coconut water is full of sugar, so we're not going to take fresh coconut water. You can ferment that coconut water and have it wherever you want on intro if it's fermented. Why? Because we know, or we're learning, that fermentation is where those fabulous microbes eat all the sugar. So if you want to have fresh, raw coconut water, wait till full gaps when you have graduated. You've graduated, you're over there. Or ferment it on intro, and then you can drink it. Okay? Yes, raw green coconut water full of sugar. I would make sure that we are remembering that one of the things we do, remember last week, I believe I talked about the 4 pillars of GAPS, one of which is to starve pathogens. That's why we don't eat sugar. White sugar, maple syrup, maple sugar, you name the sugar, we're not eating sugar, right? And so certainly when we first come to GAPS, and certainly when we first come to the intro diet, we must starve the pathogens. So we limit sugar. You know that you don't even see an apple until stage 5. And we also ferment everything. You don't ferment everything. I misspoke, but you could. The more things that you ferment, the less sugar is in them, and the more pre-digested that food is. And it's full of vitamin C. It's full of good microbes. It's full of, right? It's full of B vitamins. It's full of all sorts of wonderful things. So ferment, ferment, ferment. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Monica. Does it make any difference if I use pasteurized cow milk instead of raw grass-fed milk to make milk kefir or cultured sour cream? Yes. So here's the thing. One more time with feeling, folks. So I wrote my entire book on culturing dairy. I put there it is, culturing dairy. That's beautiful raw milk yogurt. The whole book on culturing dairy is in this big book. And I go over the difference, and Dr. Natasha says it clearly in all of her books, that raw dairy is preferred. Raw dairy is preferred. It's nutritionally superior to pasteurized dairy. Pasteurized cow milk, pasteurized cream. Yes, raw dairy is preferred. If you can get it, use it. All over the U.S., we have had the Weston A. Price Foundation has had the campaign for real milk going for 20 years or something like it, maybe 15 years. So getting access to raw milk, clean, fresh milk, not pasteurized and not homogenized in the U.S. I think we have 7 states to go. Diehards. Diehard states. But if you can get raw grass-fed milk, yes, it is preferable. Absolutely. And I'll go into that more in my big dairy class. I can go into more here too. Okay, Miriam wants to talk about cheese. Okay, I shall. La la la. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Kaylin. Lena is healing from gastritis, SIBO, and constipation. Oh my God. Lena, if you're eating celery, I would not be eating celery. There's no way on God's good earth I would be eating a ton of raw celery if you're healing from those things. No way, Jose. You can certainly have celery juice, but I would not be eating it raw. Nope. All right, let's go ahead and see. Kaylin says you have to heat and then cool the pasteurized milk before adding your starter. That is correct. Heat it to 180 F, heat it down, cool it down to 110 F, meaning Fahrenheit. You'll have to do the conversion. I don't know if Mara's still on. She could do the conversion for me. To C. With raw milk, heating step can be skipped. Yes, it can. It can be skipped. You can skip heating raw milk for yogurt. However, I don't actually encourage it because of thermophilic cultures and lack of consistency. But you can, definitely. And Dr. Natasha says you can too. All right, let's talk about cheese. So let's just talk about cheese for a moment. Miriam wants to know about cheese. So again, we're going back to that little list of what's allowed and what's not allowed. Raw dairy is always preferred, number one. If you have issues with dairy, you want to do goat instead of cow, right? If you start with goat, tends to be closer to human protein structure that we're used to. What you want to do, remember, is we always start with aged cheese. Aged cheese, whether it's goat, cow, sheep, whatever it is, aged cheese, aged, A-G-E-D, will be cheese that is hard cheese. So hard cheese is cheese that will have no lactose in it and very little casein, meaning pre-digested casein. It will still have casein, but pre-digested casein in it. So though that's the cheese that we start with, certainly when we look at the dairy introduction structure, right? Dr. Natasha says, yeah, bring in cheese, but make sure it's raw. Pardon me, raw is best. Make sure it's aged long. Okay? That's my best clue about cheese. If that cheese is sitting there and it's nice and goopy and it's spreadable and it's full of lactose, okay? And lactose is a sugar. Anything that ends in OSE is a sugar, and lactose is not permitted on GAPS. Okay. Great quote. Excellent. All right, let's see. Jumping in late. Hello, Megan. Good to have you with us. Thank you. Was that Mara? Of course it was. Thank you. She puts in the conversion. So it goes up to 180 down, right, or 82.2, and then down to 110 F. Okay. Okay, let's go over here. Let's see who else has got what here. Yes, cheese that has been aged longer, yes, actually tastes better. Yep. All right, let's see what's going on up here. I'm just scrolling, folks. Okay. Miriam says, Kaylin K, from what I understand, milk kefir grains can do just fine in pasteurized milk without reheating, pasteurizing. Yeah. The milk kefir grains are just so powerful that any pathogenic microbes don't stand a chance. That is true. That can be true. Yep. Not so with yogurt or GAPS sour cream cultures, which is really, cultured cream. Those are more delicate. It's not really that they're delicate. It's that they're just not as robust and there are not many yeast in it. So remember, the gift of kefir, the gift of kefir, folks, that gift is not only the lactic acid that's soothing to the gut. It's not only bioavailable calcium. It is also the gift of yeast, which is lactic acid producing yeast. And that's why milk kefir is such a powerhouse. That's why milk kefir will, and even kefir cream, will give you such strong die-off when you first start. Proceed with mindfulness when you do milk kefir, everybody. Okay? So it's not that the yogurt is delicate. It's just that they're bacteria. And so, bacteria fighting bacteria, but yeast come in over and overpower. Okay. Question mark, broccoli or cauliflower? Broccoli and cauliflower are fabulous. You can eat broccoli or cauliflower florets, right? The flowers is what we introduce, our broccoli and cauliflower flowers. Lena's going to take the strings off. Excellent. Okay, let's see. I want to see what else is up there that I might have missed. All right. La 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 la. Good. I'm coming on down. Okay. Hello, Megan Eileen. Welcome. Miriam says how to ferment. I would jump in any of these books first. So, do you want to know about how to ferment? Are we asking about how to ferment what? I'm not sure. Hello, please talk about cheese. I'm looking for you again. Yeah, I would jump into both the yellow book or the blue book about how to ferment cheese, or how to ferment, not cheese, how to ferment, or, here's the book again, right here. This is an entire book I wrote that's inside of this book of how to ferment. There's 8 different ways to ferment. There's lots of ways to ferment vegetables. There are a lot of different ways to ferment vegetables, fruit, beverages, tonics, meat, you name it. Usually, fermentation needs salt, but sometimes it needs a starter. So, hello, Georgiana. So I'm not going to go into how to ferment on a live, because that is a basic skill for GAPS that Dr. Natasha has gone through, and I'd like you to go through and find it. And then if you have questions, come back and bring them to me. Hello, Karen. Can I buy your book in Europe? I want to order it, but I can't source it. I can get it ordered to a family member in the U.S. and get her to bring it to me. I'm based in Ireland. Hello, Karen. Right. So I have offered to personally mail things. I've done that once. I don't even know where we did it to, but it got killed in the mail. Remembering that the book is available as a PDF download, which you could print it out and then put it in a binder. You could also use it as a Kindle on your Kindle. It's available on Kindle, and it is searchable on Kindle on the search bar, which you don't have in the book. So those are 2 other options for people in Europe right now. I've been working on finding a printer in Europe for, a couple of years now. And I actually have a meeting with my colleague in GAPS, in the GAPS Training LLC, to talk about getting the book out there. So you can get the PDF version and download it and print it. Beautiful thing to do. You can use it on Kindle, or I can ship it to you, or I can try. If you send me an email from my website, simplybeingwell.com. Hello, Dawn. I just realized my cultured butter and my 24-hour kefir from my farm is not A2 raw milk. So A2. There's a lot of stuff going around about A2. I do write about A2. It seems that the human body is way better. Boy, is that a great thing to say. The human body digests, tolerates, A2 casein, so which really just means milk from brown cows, right? A2. I go into that a lot in the book too. Hello, Jennifer Davis. Hello. Can I use non-homogenized vat pasteurized kefir as my starter for my kefir? You can, but it's not going to be the best, right? It's not going to be the strongest. We remember that what we buy in the store, whatever it is, whether it's yogurt, and then you leave it on the counter for 24 hours, whether it's kefir, milk kefir, whether it's cultured cream, the potency will be far less than something you make it yourself, but certainly the potency will be far less in terms of inoculating to use it as a starter. You can, but it won't be a very potent batch, if that makes sense. So try it, and it's probably a good way to, it may be a good way to enter into the kefir game, if you will. If you're not used to drinking it, it's an easy way to start with just a less potent kefir than something that you make at home. You could probably get less die-off. Good, Lena. All right, Miriam says, poets have been mysteriously silent on the subject of cheese. G.K. Chesterton, that's hysterical. All right, what's the name of that book? I know that book. Okay. My son used to read it when he was really small. I crave salad and raw veggies, especially celery. Yeah, gastritis is a tough thing to fix, I think. I would be doing lots of raw cabbage juice to heal from gastritis, for sure. All right. Megan says, I suddenly have an increase in gas and bloating in the last 2 days. I've been on intro about 6 months, not eating honey. Slowly been increasing sauerkraut juice to about 3/4 teaspoon a day over the last 3 weeks. Is the gas bloating a die-off cycle? Could be. Should I go back to stage 1 or stop the juice? I don't know that I would go back to stage 1. I would perhaps hold at 3/4 teaspoon a day and see if it'll resolve. If it doesn't resolve over the next week or two, or if you're just too darn uncomfortable, which is fine. I mean, we don't want you to be uncomfortable. Then you could decrease the amount. You could just maybe go down to a 1/2 teaspoon and see if that resolves. So just play with it. Yes, it could definitely be a die-off, gas bloating die-off cycle. So you can either hold where you are and see if it resolves, or you can back down to a 1/2 teaspoon and see if it resolves, and then stay there for a while, and then slowly start working your way up again. That's my best. All right. There you go. Jennifer Davis says, thank you, Monica. I will just take the plunge and buy the kefir grains. It's not a bad thing to start with kefir from the store. It will not be as potent as it would be if you started with kefir grains. You're welcome, Karen. The cookbook is listed as out of stock on Amazon. Let me get to my publisher and let them know. Out of stock. Who's watching those numbers? So yeah, I mean, you're welcome to send me a note on Simply Being Well, and I can send you a link. You can pay for the book, and then I can mail it to you. All right. Let's see what's next. La, 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 la. Oh, sorry. I was replying to the comment on green coconut water. Okay, cool, Miriam. Cool. Sorry. I'm trying to track through all these things. Okay, asking how to ferment that specifically. So fermenting green coconut water is a wonderful thing to use. You can ferment with kefir grains. I would use water kefir grains and ferment the coconut water that way. Good question. Thank you, Mara, for all the conversions. All right, let's see what Leonie says. I always thought of pineapple as being very sweet, but it is included in the intro diet to add to juices. I'd be interested to hear it. Yes. So we remember that pineapple has a very special gift, which is called bromelain. So pineapple has a specific enzyme that is very good for digestion. That is why it is included in the juices on the intro diet. Yep, you got it. And of course, it's not something that you're going to include right away, like, right? Or it is part of the GAPS milkshake, or it could be. So that's it. Each one of those ingredients in the GAPS milkshake that you juice has a specific gift to the milkshake. It's in there for a very specific reason. And pineapple is very high in that enzyme. Very good for you. Okay. Miriam wants to know, can you do the same with canned or bottled coconut water? Yes, you can. You may. Or yes, it's possible. You can do a can. All right. You can. Hello, Marianne. How are you? Good to have you here. Hello, Otilia. Hello, hello. Cabbage juices. So Sienna is here. Hello, Sienna. Very active on the page. Sienna says, yeah, cabbage juice is amazing. I healed an ulcer I had for years once in 9 days. But it was all I was consuming for all those days. Now I am doing cabbage juice just a few times per day. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, Sienna. Good to hear. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay. La, 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 la. Hello. Okay, Midhat Shahab. I hope I said that right. Midhat Shahab. Hello, welcome. Okay, so Leonie says, is your Kindle version in color? Yes. I'd like to buy your book, but I would like to see the pictures alongside the instructions. My understanding is it's the exact book, so it would be in color. Yes. Okay, here we go. Leonie asks, I used to drink a large glass of juice with greens and carrots each day, but stopped over the winter as I didn't feel like I wanted it as much. Cool. Do I need to start? Good listening to your body. Excellent. Do I need to start with a small amount of carrot juice, etc. when I start again? Yes. It's a really good idea, folks, when you start bringing anything new, anything in the diet, anything new, you know what I say, slow and steady, just a little bit, right? We went through the Monica Corrado stair-step method, right? Where we increase just a little bit. We stay at that level for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 weeks, whatever you need. Then you increase a little bit. Then you stay at that level until the body tolerates whatever it takes, a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever. Then we increase. That's why I call it the stair-step method, because you're increasing, right? Increasing just like a staircase, up and over. Yeah, good idea to start with just a little bit. And we are remembering when we start bringing juice in, carrot juice, it is actually diluted with water. So there's not a big sugar hit, right? Okay, let's see what we got here. Yay, thank you, Dawn. Yes, my book is available on the Saline River Press website. Dawn put that up there. Excellente. Hello, Joe. Good to have you. Hello. Okay, most of the time, Kindle and Amazon will give you a sample of the books. Good. Okay. Tilia says, thank you so much for the BioCult probiotics. We had another episode of ear infection, but I declined the 4th dose of antibiotics from the GP. My son is a bit better now. Thank you. You are so welcome. Yes, you put the BioCult in the back of his throat, I hope, yeah? Very good thing to do for a sore throat, for ear infections. Remembering putting probiotic powder on the back of your throat before bed is a wonderful thing to do, for sure. All right, let me see if I got all the questions. La, 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 la. Any more questions? Oh, here we go. Here's one I missed. My son just wouldn't eat fermented vegetables. He has been on intro for 6 months. Is the juice from the ferments good enough? Yes, you can stay with the juice of the fermented vegetables. That's a wonderful thing to do. I don't know how old your son is, but sometimes we remember that children really, self-regulate. They self-regulate, they self-protect. And so if the veggies are not to his liking, it may be that it would be better for him to just stay on juice. So make sure you're doing enough juice of the fermented vegetables. That's fine. And then see if you can bring them in at some point. Also, folks, we remember, I hope, that one of the ways to get really easily digested vegetables into, a child, a spouse, a partner, yourself, whatever, is to ferment the vegetables first and then cook them in meat stock. And then they're so easy on the gut, it's kooky. That would really be for people that have ulcerative colitis, they have Crohn's disease, they have irritable bowel disease, those types of things. That's how we come off of no plant gaps. Good. Yes, she got to your question. Great question. Thanks for answering it. Okay, good. Just asking, did you get to my question? Yes, I did, Megan. Yes. Okay. How would you recommend we get L-reuteri well in the GAPS diet? I don't know. Sorry, that's bratty of me to say. So here's the thing, folks. I would like to know why you would like to get L-reuteri in the GAPS diet. So tell me what you're thinking of there. Like, what's your purpose? My understanding of GAPS is that our job as implementers of the GAPS diet is to, and I like to say this to the clients that I work with, our job on GAPS is to get jiggy. That means get jiggy is just a silly phrase, but it means get really comfortable. Get really comfortable with eating as much fermented foods as you want every day, as much cultured dairy as you want every day, as many varieties as you want every day, and not have any digestive distress. That's what get jiggy means. Your job is to make sure that you have a vast variety of fermented vegetables, fermented tonics, cultured dairy, yogurt, kefir, cultured kefir cream. I mean, and be able to eat as much as you want. That means a lot without any digestive distress, without bloating, without constipation, without diarrhea, without cramping, without anything. So that's really what GAPS is about. So when people ask me how we get a specific microbe into our diet, I would ask why you want to get a specific microbe, and then I would suggest that you just ferment everything you can and eat a lot of it all the time. So we're looking at, for adults, 1.5 cups to 2 cups of fermented foods every day without fail. For children, 1/2 cup to 1 cup for children every day. No digestive distress, etc. So I'd love to know why. Monica, he was gagging. Oh, he was gagging as he is autistic, but I gave him after the food and I noticed a big difference. Excellent. I'm very happy to hear. Uma, hello, Uma. Can I get fermented, little bit goat milk and double cream together? Yes, for sure. Yes, so very good question, Uma. So I think I understand what you're asking. It's a very good thing for you all to be, if you can get cream, add it into the milk to make it creamier. If you can get, so you can do half milk, half cream to make a thicker, creamier yogurt. Absolutely. It's just a cultured dairy product. It's very good for you. Yes, it would be very good for you to do. Okay, let's see. Beet kvass is great. Excellent. All right. Yes, let's see. Megan says, I would think that the longer you ferment, the higher histamine content, if it's like meat. All right, let me see what happens. Trin is asking, is it possible to do kimchi so that it is lower in... Yes. Okay, very good question. Is it possible to do kimchi so that it is lower in histamine like sauerkraut? Yes. If you want a really low histamine sauerkraut or a very low histamine fermented food, this is not fruit because fruit turns to alcohol after a while because it has high sugar, but certainly something with cabbage, you would ferment long. And Dr. Natasha really suggests a year. A year for histamine to be lower in sauerkraut. A year's time for histamine to be lower in kimchi. Not 12 weeks, a year. That's what you want. Okay. It's not really true, Megan. It's kind of interesting. The longer you do a fermented vegetable, the longer the vegetable ferments, the lower in histamine content. Most people are eating ferments that are not fermented for a year or more. That's why the histamine content is high. Okay, you're welcome. Adriana says 2 cups of fermented food includes veggies and dairy, or 2 cups veggies plus 2 cups dairy separate. So usually for Adriana, I know that you are the GAPS, one of those GAPS rock stars. But usually for adults, we're talking 1.5 cups to 2 cups a day, every day. Total. If you're doing more and you can handle it, great. More healing, excellent. But when we're working with people who are just starting out, we're trying to give them a goal. Try and get to, if a person can get to 2 cups of fermented foods or cultured dairy a day, and they have no digestive distress, they're not having any cramping, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, etc., then we know they're on their way to repopulating their gut. So we give them that goal of adults, try to get to 1.5 cups to 2 cups a day. And at that point, they should be able to be adding in more of a variety of things with no problem. So you're welcome, Megan. Will cabbage juice affect iodine levels? I don't really know. I would be doing the iodine patch test, which is sitting right here in the blue book. And if the iodine patch test shows that you're low in iodine, I would be taking prolamine iodine from Standard Process. I would not be taking iodine liquid orally. That's just, it's not bound to protein, which it needs to be. Okay. Uma, last question. We used to drink 2 cups of kefir and fermented cream a day. Is that enough? Or do I need to increase that? He tolerated that amount. That's great. 2 cups a day for a child is great. 2 cups a day would be wonderful. Yes. Why would we want lower histamine in fermented foods? Is it because people don't tolerate it? That's exactly why, Adriana. Some people don't tolerate histamine. Again, right? We did a Facebook Live a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, on histamine. What is it? External, right? Exogenous, endogenous, histamine responses. So for people who are really not well, for people who have super high, God bless them, have super high histamine responses so that they can't even tolerate, a drop of sauerkraut juice in 8 ounces of water and a drop of that, really encouraged, Dr. Natasha encourages people to allow their ferments to go long so the histamine level is low. That's why. Okie dokie, everyone. We are a little bit over today. I thank all of you for coming on out and being with me today. We'll be here again next week, Tuesday. Thank you to everyone for your participation on the pages. On our page, sorry, the Ask the Gap Chef page. Please do read the book. And please do let me know if you have other questions. Thank you, Tara. Thank you so much. Great live as always. Thank you. Invite your friends. And I will see you on our page at least once a day. Okay, I'm glad you're looking forward to the dairy class, Adriana. Yes. Okay. Be well, everyone. You're welcome. Have a wonderful week. Take good care of you and yours. Okay. Bye now.